I'm Robby, welcome back to our channel Bookworm Couple. Today we are going to be talking about the third book in the Percy Jackson series, The Titan's Curse. How did you feel about this one?
I like reading Percy Jackson books a lot. This was not my favorite.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad in any way, but it made me wonder how the series is going to mature with Percy, because it definitely felt a little bit more adult. Not adult, but like less like, it was still goofy and silly, but not as goofy and silly, I think, as the past two.
Yeah, I think you're
How
right.
do you feel?
I think I feel similarly. I mean, we've also started to officially get into areas in which I'm like, oh, I forgot about that bit, which is nice, which is really actually fun and exciting for me to get to re-experience some of this for the first time. Yeah. But you know, I think it's pretty regular with you know, young adult or middle grade fantasy series, or any series in general, that the characters kind of grow with the audience, and as time goes on, the themes kind of necessarily get a little bit darker. This wasn't my favorite of the three either, but I mean, it was still a fun read.
It
still
moved
very
fast.
entertaining.
I thought it moved really fast. I was like, all of a sudden, I was like, oh, here we are.
Moved really quickly, and so much happened at the end. Yeah, but you know, I think that some of the new characters in this were really great. I loved Nico.
I like Zoe.
I loved Nico. I
like that he's just playing D&D with
mytho magic or whatever they called it. Yeah, he was so great.
Cute. He was sweet.
I really liked Nico. I think that every time a new character is introduced, regardless of whether or not I personally enjoy the character, I think they're done well. I think that's something
absolutely.
that the author does extremely well.
And I do think as a, like, the middle grade book, would you call this?
Yeah, I guess.
Middle grade, young adult? Ish. Not really young adult. In that, like, the genre, it's really fun to have those, like, very, not generic characters, but, like, they fit into a mold very well of, like, this is the little kid who's all obsessed with games, and, like, that's his identity.
Sure.
And, like, his, you know, the Zoe is the huntress, and she's, like, speaks like in the olden days, and, like, they're very, like, big stereotypes in a really fun way, which I feel like when you read those kinds of things as, like, a younger person, it, like, allows you to be a little bit more creative with it, because you're, like, you have this stereotype, but it's, like, fun and artistically, creatively done to allow, like, a different vision for the whole story.
Yeah, I think that the plot, I like that the plot is really moving. This book doesn't feel, the last book I felt like Sea of Monsters felt like so much setup, and this book feels like it starts to deliver on that as the plot continues to move forward, and we get a better idea of the forces that are coming into play with everything. I just there were just certain aspects of it that didn't specifically click for me.
Yeah, no, I would say the same. I thought it was like an intriguing read, because I felt that exactly of, like, we are moving forward, and there wasn't a lot of, like, setup or filler or anything, because we know these characters, we know the places that they're in now, so it's more of like, okay, cool, we're here, we're moving on to the next thing, because this is what has to be done. There's not a whole lot of, like, I don't know, secretive things trying to be like, ooh, what's happening? It's like, this is happening, here we go.
That's not true. There's lots of secretive things.
I mean, I guess so, but in the like the plot of this book.
Okay, sure.
You know what I mean? Like, yes, definitely.
That's actually, I also disagree with that, actually.
Fair. I don't know. I guess I don't know what I'm trying to say, because I think it's, like, more, maybe just that it moved faster, like you said, there's less setup, and so it just felt like there was, like, not a lot of nonsense of, like, oh, what are we gonna do now? It's like, okay, we're gonna do this, moving forward.
Sure, okay.
I don't know, and I like that. Especially at this phase in a series, I'm like, okay, got it, let's go.
I want to know.
And
I want it
really
to
rolled. I thought it really did.
It did.
Yeah. Anywho,
all right. So you want to jump into spoilers
Let's go
now?
spoilers.
We can talk about spoilers. Okay, spoiler warning going forward. If you haven't read the book yet, probably go and read that first, and then come back. The video will still be here. 3, 2, 1. Great. As you were saying, yeah, people die.
So many people die.
People
die. But, like, they don't. But they also all die.
Yeah, it was interesting. The Annabeth thing, I was like, of course we know she's not dead.
Yeah,
She can't be dead. But the thing that bothered me as I jumped to the absolute end of the book is the Luke thing.
Same.
It's pretty brutal. And
it was
they're like,
brutal.
no, he's still alive.
They were like, Percy's, like, looking at him splayed on the rocks at one point. And then we're supposed to just be like, well, and I guess that is one thing that I did find kind of annoying, because there was that little, like, I don't know. And it was like, no, we know, somebody knows why Luke is not dead. Like, what? Give me the juice. Like, we're there already.
Give me the juice.
Like, give me the juice. We know.
Give me the juice.
Don't be like, whoa, maybe he's, I don't know. It's like, he's obviously working with dark powers, and that's why he can come back to life. Come on. If you've read enough fantasy books, you guys, it's not a secret.
I don't know.
Don't say.
And I honestly don't, because I don't remember at this point.
Great, cool.
But anyway, back to the beginning of the book. How did you feel about the fact that Annabeth just was like kind of sidelined?
Sad, but to then skip to later in the book, I thought it was interesting that we got some more insight on her family.
That was great. That was actually one of my favorite parts of the whole book.
Same. Well, and I also was like, and this is my judgment from this book. Meeting her dad and her stepmom and her stepbrothers, I was kind of like, oh, okay, maybe Annabeth was like being a little obnoxious.
Yes, well, an unreliable narrator.
Yeah, so I think it was interesting of like getting to meet them and like seeing them for what they are rather than Annabeth's feeling of how her relationship with them has gone down, and even like getting to know her stepmom of her, her stepmom says something like, let her know she has a home here all the time, and Annabeth's description of her stepmother was like, she doesn't want anything to do with me.
Yes.
XYZ. So I thought that was really interesting, and I don't think we would have gotten that had we had Annabeth in the story, which is sad because I love Annabeth. She's probably my favorite character in the series. But
we also got some, I mean, not to be so crass, but we did get some strong female replacements for her in this.
We did get some strong female, which I said, like, I loved Zoe. I thought the hunters were so much fun. I loved meeting Artemis, and
we did also have Talia.
We did have Talia. Which in the audiobook he calls her Thalia.
Fascinating.
Which I was like, there's no way.
I felt pretty confident.
I felt pretty solid
Talia,
that it was Talia. I started reading.
Thalia.
I listened to the second half of this book on audiobook, and it was fun. It was amazing.
Thalia. I'm gonna stick with Talia.
I'm gonna stick with Talia too, because like that's how I would say. I mean, maybe not. Tell us if we're wrong, but I assumed it was Talia. Maybe it's Thalia. I'll take that. But like, I don't know. Thalia was interesting to me.
Yeah. I like how the book kind of started off with the mission. I did think it was funny that Sally had to drive them to their mission.
Classic. Sally's the best.
Yeah. And then Percy was like,
Sally's
like, your mom's so cool. And he was like, yeah, I guess she's okay. I was like, Percy. Your mother slept with a god. Put some respect on her name.
Literally. And also like she's just like, and every time Percy like contacts her, she's like, you safe? Cool. Great.
Also,
have fun. Amazing.
Love her finding
respect.
love. Oh. Mr. Blowfish or whatever his real name is.
It's not Blowfish, but Percy calls him Blowfish. Yeah, I thought Mr. that was Blowfish. Really sweet.
I love that. I also love Percy at the end, like, I don't want to say giving her that, but that's what's
like asking her if she's happy.
Asking her if she's happy.
Yeah.
I thought that was really beautiful.
Because I'm sure he even says that, is like probably hesitant of men coming into his mom's life with his past experience.
Of course.
But it was, like, it's funny to be in, like a preteen's brain. I guess he's a teenager, officially a teenager. To be in a teenager's brain of being like, at first he's like, oh man, and then he's like, are you happy? Okay, cool. Like, it was just a really, like, I thought,
yeah, and it also kind of works with the theme that a family that we had earlier with Annabeth's family, and seeing how they feel about her, but also knowing how she talks to other people about them.
About her
and how much pain she's clearly in, and how much pain they're in not being with her. And so, even if it's not actually written that way, the perspective you get from that as the reader going forward is very nice, I thought, as well.
Man, I wonder how that would hit as a young adult. Like, if I would have made
I wasn't emotionally intelligent enough to clock.
Well, that's what I wonder. Like, I think I probably would, but I think I would have been slower to it. Whereas, like, the second we met her family, there was like a few sentences of the description of like the vibe of that like family house, and I was like, oh, okay, this is Annabeth seeing something very differently from her own experience, which I don't know like how that would have hit as a young adult, but it is fun then to come back in as a full adult. Sadly, and then reading these books to know that there is that like emotional drive that is interesting to someone of, an older age, not just a funny, silly story for kids. There's those more mature themes as well that I find enjoyable to read.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree. So now to actually go through the book, and we're just randomly jumping around. No, we both were. We get so much from that opening sequence. There's so many new characters introduced. Yeah. I love Nico. I immediately really didn't like Bianca. Well, not immediately, but as soon as she literally abandoned her brother, I was like, this is pretty rough.
Percy was so mad about that. I thought it was very funny.
I was pretty mad too.
I don't know. There was a part of me, and maybe this, and hence I'm always like, oh, cool, the warrior chicks. There's a part of me that was like, yeah, man.
Well, that also leads me to my other thing is this is actually the first 2 depictions of gods that I didn't really like, and I don't know if that was supposed to be on purpose or not, but I just didn't love. I mean, I thought Artemis was cool, but the Artemis. I mean, I didn't care that she was a baby, but the fact that she was like stealing kids essentially, and like, yeah, you can be like, oh, but she looks like a teen and stuff. I'm like, she's an immortal god, and is recruiting preteens, and that's not great. And then I thought Apollo was really funny for like a few chapters, and I was like, this is hilarious, what a loser, like, he is so funny. And then he was just kept hitting on the teenagers. Yeah. I was like, this is not awesome either.
Not so cute.
I mean, both of them had their moments and stuff, and this book was written in 2007, which, another thing, unbelievable references again in this book.
Yeah, there was one.
We had a Green Day reference that was preceded by a Jesse McCartney reference.
Oh yes,
and
that's
this book
what it was.
Again came out in 2007, so it would have been right smack dab in the middle of Right Where You Want Me and American Idiot. What an unbelievable time to be alive.
truly, and I remember it well. I think.
God, but yeah, there are so many. There's also a bit later where they. What is it that they kill with the space food?
Oh my gosh. I was laughing at that so much because I remember going to the Air and Space Museum in DC and thinking, about the space food.
Yes, the lion. The Neiman lion, however you pronounce it. The lion. When when they beat the lion with the space food from the museum gift shop, I was like, there's nothing... I've never read anything that was so early 2000s in my entire life.
And
unbelievable.
And also, like, I very much was like, yeah. Like, I was there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I thought that scene was written so fun. Like, it was just from the actual description of the action of Percy tossing these bags of space food into his mouth to Percy then also, like... Remembering and, like, relating to what this monster is going through and being like, yeah, dude, I hated it too. And I thought that was... So I think I out loud cackled when I read that.
Yeah, it was very, very funny. But anyway, I also really liked Talia's kind of journey throughout this. She's very angsty. I do enjoy the fact that she's afraid of heights. That's very funny. But, and, you know, her being the child of prophecy and Percy having to kind of deal with that and the responsibility, and losing the responsibility of that. And then having it kind of thrust back upon him by the end.
Yeah, I did think it was interesting about... Sorry.
No, go.
Continue. About Talia. Like, multiple times when I started this book, was like, did I miss a book? Because we got thrown right into the action. And Talia was there with them. Yeah. Which at the end of the second book, Talia just comes back to life. And we come into this book, like, after them already having done this a few times. And I was like, did I read the third? Did I skip a book? Like, did I? Whoops. But I don't hate being thrust into the action. I just was not ready for it. And I wish I would have gotten a little bit more of Talia beforehand. And we got a lot of her in this book and a lot of an emotional journey from her and, like, great description of her, like, punk rock look and, like, her... Oh, also talk about references. If she's like, oh, I only listen to XYZ rock music, which was fantastic.
Very good.
I think I was... I kind of craved a little bit of that beforehand, before the book started, but I enjoyed the journey we went on with her.
Sure, yeah. No, I really liked what happened with her in this, and I honestly don't remember exactly how much of a role she plays in the plot to come. I do hope that she continues to and is not entirely sidelined by joining the Hunters. But
yeah, I do too. I hope we get some more of her. I did think it was funny that everyone's in love with Luke.
Of course they are. He's hot.
If you watch our Wheel of Time videos, you know how I feel about Rand, and I made a comment to Robby. I said, is Luke the Rand of this series?
Yes.
Because everyone is in love with Rand in Wheel of Time. I'm not a big fan of him. I would say not a big fan of Luke, because
you're not supposed to be a big fan of Luke.
But of course.
Well,
they both Annabeth are in love with him.
but they both shared, like, they traveled together for a long time, and they
correct, and they're both smart, independent women
that
I believe can see through that a little bit better than they're being written.
They have a deep emotional connection with this person. Okay.
No, I completely agree with you. that, of course, yes, they do have a deep emotional connection with this person. I thought that was interesting in the end, skipping ahead again, sorry, the end of, like, Talia battling Luke and, like, struggling through that, because that to me was a little bit more realistic. Not realistic. That to me, I was like, yeah, that is hard, of course, because she has this person up on a pedestal, she spent so much time with him, has love for him, whether it's romantic or familial, like, and so that, I thought that sequence was done really well. I think where I started to roll my eyes was Annabeth at the end, like, consistently trying to fight for saving Luke and his soul. And I'm like, Annabeth, you are smarter than that. He's not that great. Talia, I think, started to realize it at the end in a very tough, obviously, way. Yeah. But I was like, come on, ladies.
Did you, well, I guess since we're still talking about some of the characters, Nico and Bianca, did you guess who their dad was?
No, not at all.
It was a pretty cool reveal.
It was a great reveal.
Yeah, it was a great reveal.
It was one of those, it took me a minute of like, huh? I thought that was really cool, especially with how much time we spent on the prophecy, this book, and how much time we spent on being like flip-flopping the prophecy. That was kind of cool, and also I was like, smart writer, because you can just keep on writing if this prophecy is still going on.
Yes, exactly.
I thought that was really cool. I thought that was a really cool reveal. I
thought all of the information that they kind of like gave out to us during the story about Nico and Bianca through, although I didn't love Bianca, and really I know that they like kind of tried to like endear you to her towards the end more. Didn't super work for me, but you know, the information she was able to dole out throughout the story because she was on the quest with Percy and Zoe and everyone, I thought was really interesting. I loved the White Lotus Casino. Was it the White Lotus or the Lotus Casino?
Yeah, I forget the name of the casino, but that's the casino.
Yeah,
the fact casino. That it took me a second because they had mentioned that they like had a few. They peppered it in there, here and there, of like, oh, there's something more about these kids that we don't know. Talking when they're in DC, talking about how like when the last time they were there were no trains, and then I was trying to like work. I was like, okay, something's happening. I didn't guess, but the casino made so much sense and was a cool callback.
Yeah, I really like that callback. There are certain things that this series does that I'm like, even though it's for younger readers, it really respects the reader's ability to recall certain details. I mean, it also gave you a little bit of, you know, a recap there, but like you still need to remember what happened to understand the significance of it. Yeah. I thought that was really, really fascinating. The fact that they're like they were born a long time ago. I thought everything that happened with them was great. I think everyone was being weirdly mean to Nico. He's just like a 10-year-old kid. The only person who has a right to complain that he is annoying is his sister.
Who has mothered him for
forever. Every Artemis, like a chapter after meeting him, was like talking behind his back about how annoying he was. Percy was talking about how annoying he was.
Percy loves to talk about how annoying people are.
Yes, he really does.
Percy loves to talk about how annoying
I was like, why is everyone being such a dick to Nico?
He just wanted to play
He's just a kid.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, he was cute.
He was really cute. His enthusiasm came across, I thought, very well in the writing of like how young and enthusiastic and excited he was, which, again, I was like, I have a hard time finding him annoying because I just think he's delightful, the way he was written.
Did you know, how early on did you realize that like the general was Atlas and that the place that like Annabeth and was holding up the sky? You didn't until it happened?
I guessed when they were like, I kind of guessed that it was, I couldn't remember what the particular myth was, but I was like, I feel like there's something about holding up the world is what my head went to when Annabeth first took on the weight. Yeah. But no, I had no guesses, zero. I was like, oh, cool, here we are.
Okay, all right. Interesting.
I didn't remember the details of that myth very well, so it was a
great. Well, then you get to revisit it.
Yeah. I thought it was fun, like later on, the reference that Poseidon makes to Percy of like, oh, only someone who is like massively strong can do that. Like, and like has such will to like can do it. And the fact that both him and Annabeth did it, I was like, yeah, and Luke.
Even though it was a deception. Deception! But yes, Luke still did it. Let us not forget.
Yeah. I like that we got a little bit more Poseidon. I feel like that's like the longest he's ever spoken to us.
That's true.
the end.
Yeah.
I was like,
did.
oh, fine, let's hang out.
Yeah, I love Poseidon. He's good. There were some great. I know I said I didn't love Artemis and Apollo, but there were some other depictions of gods that I really enjoyed in this. I loved Aphrodite.
Yeah.
I thought she was very. I mean, Ares is a favorite of mine, but Aphrodite showing up, I really enjoyed because she. Just like the concept and the way that she's written, I thought was very well done. Like the fact that her face changes to kind of be like the face of the person that you love, and also the fact that she was there to be like, you're going to save your love, and that's why I'm interested in this. Was so funny, but also I'm not going to make it easy for you because I want to be entertained. Like, and the dark side of that, I thought was really well done. I really, really liked it. Every time they add almost every time they add a new god or they focus a little bit more on a god, like we also got more about Dionysus. In this, in that scene where he talked about his wife, and we got to see him with his wife, and then we also got to see him use his powers, and it was absolutely horrifying. I was like, this is terrifying.
That took me a second to be like, what is happening?
It was really horrifically scary.
And just he's like, whatever.
Yeah, I was like,
I think the descriptions, I really enjoy the descriptions of the gods, similar to how I had said earlier, of like how everyone kind of fits into a very particular, like, very stereotype is really fun.
Yeah.
And especially because you have a really particular image for each of these like big time characters, which I think makes it really fun.
Yeah. And speaking of parents also, I did love Annabeth's parents that we got to see, but her dad, particularly him strafing monsters in his antique shop with Camel with celestial bronze rounds, I thought was
incredible.
So ridiculous.
The description of him,
so over the top and
I'm
hilarious.
Not remembering right now, but the description of him,
and also what a nerd he is.
Just like in my head, I picked, and I think there's a description of like his glasses or something, but I pictured those glasses that like magnify your eyeballs, you know. So he had like these really big eyeballs. I thought he was just so cute.
He was delightful.
So ADHD and so wonderful.
Yeah, loved him. Yeah, every time I've yet to see a character really added in this series that was not needed and not used to, I think, their full effect.
Yeah.
Which is really impressive. And it really puts weight and value on any time you know a new character is added. And I think that's a lot to say, especially in this book when so many new characters were added. Partially because one of our main characters was kind of, and then killed. Partially because one of our main characters was then kind of taken out. But, yeah, there was a lot of death in this one.
There really was. There was a point where it was like the second time it happened, I was like, whoa. Whoa. I think it was Bianca that I was like, dude, what? Like, jeez. And then we end with Luke brutally dying.
Very brutally dying.
And then...
Dying.
Yeah, right, dying. Which I'm sure most of them are honestly not dead. Even down to, like, the monsters, like the Minotaur in the beginning. Or not the Minotaur. Is it the Minotaur?
Hmm?
The Thorn. What is he?
Oh, he's like a scorpion thing that I'm forgetting the name of. I don't remember the name.
Anyways, even down to like the monsters dying in the very obviously, like the monsters can't perish, but it was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
I thought.
I mean, we're getting darker. We are more
We're
mature.
approaching 16.
We are.
We're angsty.
I'm 16, going on 17, and I will murder you.
Apparently.
But there was a lot of death in this one, and some of them actually seem to have stuck, which I think is a big change.
Which and I'm also I guess like reading it, I'm like, okay, so like when do I need to like be sad or when I'm because every time I read it, I'm like,
that is hard. That is a hard part.
Whatever.
But
like I know I'm supposed to have like an emotional reaction to it, and obviously I do, but I don't believe that it's the truth.
Yeah, it's hard.
So,
yeah.
We'll see how that.
But that's a problem I've had with many books.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm reading too many.
Yeah, too many fantasy books. I'm like, they're not really dead. And then
oh, okay, they're not dead.
2 books later, I'm like, did they really die?
Yeah. You're like, shit, I should have cried.
Yeah. I really like that the Pan subplot continues. It gives Grover like a lot of purpose. And I also like that it remains at least tangentially relevant to the plot. It could be so easy to sideline it for like the whole book. And I really appreciated that not only was it in this book, at least like a tiny bit, but it also like actively helped them on their quest with that giant boar thing.
Nature. It's a blessing.
And the And the funny bits where it's like you're drinking a coffee.
You have to drink so much coffee in
drinking so much coffee.
Portland.
But I really like that it's becoming more relevant, and also it's just like generally progressing. It's not like, oh, I found another clue to something. It's like I felt Pan's actual presence. It gives you a feeling that it is going to continue to grow, and maybe you will actually.
We're so
meet Pan at
excited
some
for
point.
Grover.
We're so excited for Grover, which is really. I like that a lot, because it would just be really easy to kind of let it fall for a bit, but they never do, which I appreciate. All right, so what would you rank this book, and what would you rank it out of? I mean, I feel like there's a lot of God stuff in this, so it could easily be, we could do like bows or something for Artemis, the sun for Apollo, a skull for Hades.
What's your idea?
I would say skulls because of the big reveal at the end.
All right, let's
I think
do skulls.
that's the biggest part. Okay, fine, skulls.
I like skulls.
How many skulls out of 5 would you give this?
I don't know. You go first.
Okay, I would give this a 3.5 out of 5
I was gonna
skulls.
say 3.5. Okay. I don't know. I have a hard time rating things.
Okay. Why?
Why do I have a hard time rating things?
Yes.
Because I always have such a journey. I love and I dislike a lot about books I read, and I have a hard time giving it one overall rating. I could like rate maybe each section or like how it made me feel.
Yeah,
I don't really know
that's
how
what
to
rating
rate
is.
it.
That's all a rating is. It's just how it makes you feel. It
Okay.
doesn't need to be like a big scientific thing. Sometimes, sometimes depending on the book, that's what it is. But then sometimes, like this book, I'm giving it a 3.5 because that's just how it made me feel. So you would give it a 3.5?
I would give it a 3.5. I was thinking originally 4, and then I was like, no, because I didn't really like it as much as I would think a 4 deserves.
Great.
3.5.
And that's all that matters. It's not science.
Skulls.
It's just opinion. 3.5 skulls.
I don't know why I always feel like I'm going to do it wrong.
You
It's just my
can't
opinion.
do it wrong. It's your opinion.
I think I have a hard time being like, this is your grade. Because it's so nuanced.
Yes, it is. And that's why we talk about it first.
You're so right. Okay,
Yeah.
3.5 skulls.
All right, well, thank you so much for watching our video. Let us know in the comments down below if you agree with us, if you disagree, what we missed, what we said wrong.
Did we say Talia's name right?
Yeah, how
Is
do
it
you say
Thalia?
Talia? Is it
Talia?
Talia or Thalia or Thalia?
I think he says Thalia in the audiobook.
That's way different than what I would
I
think.
didn't even think. It
Anyway,
took me a minute.
like and subscribe to see more of our Percy Jackson videos that we're going to do in the future. And
Lots of Percy Jackson to come.
lots of Percy Jackson to come.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on our next adventure.